And one.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Viaggio nel Veneto, Prosecco and Tiramisu, presented by NOIAW's Connecticut Region Chapter. NOIAW is now celebrating 40 years of empowering Italian-American women, celebrating accomplishments, and making connections through culture and heritage. I'm NOIAW member Giovanna di Biccari, and I'll be here to introduce you to our NOIAW members and experts, Laney Sachs of Ortensia Blu Italian Adventures, sommelier Elisabetta Berra, and Maria Pietrobon, owner of Caffè Bon, as they take us on a virtual tour of Veneto. This event, organized by the president of the Connecticut region, Pat Tinto, was previously held in the kitchen of Caffè Bon before the pandemic struck. But though we can't travel or gather together in person, we are going to make the best of it and enjoy a taste of Veneto, its geography, attractions, and most notably, its famed Prosecco wines. Oh, and we'll also virtually taste test some tiramisu, which originated in Treviso. So open up your bottle and let's get this party started. All right, first I want to welcome Laney Sachs of Ortensia Blu Italian Adventures, a NOIAW member and Stamford resident, who will present the highlights of the region with beautiful slides of her annual tours to the Veneto. She'll transport us to Valdobbiadene, where we will be left in the capable hands of Elisabetta Berra. So, how are you, Laney? Talk to us.
I am great, Giovanna. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
I'm super excited for this.
All right, great. So let's talk to us about what's going to happen, Laney.
Okay, I'm going to take everybody through a little bit of a tour. I mean, this is going to be like a hyperlapse, right? We got to do it fast.
Okay.
We're gonna tour through the Veneto like you've never done before.
That's okay. That'll make us crave more.
We ready?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet, because I have to press
There
the
we
share button.
are.
Now you see it.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. It's nice to meet everybody. As Giovanna said, I'm Laney Sachs. My company is Ortensia Blu Italian Adventures. I am a travel advisor. I specialize in Italy, and I also organize and lead some small group tours to the Prosecco region, to Sicily, and to the Lake Garda region of Italy also. Today we're going to take a tour of the Veneto, or tonight we're going to. So sit back and relax. Everybody has their wine ready to go. The Veneto is in the northeast part of Italy. It is bordered by the Adriatic on one side. It has the Dolomites on the north, and it goes all the way over to the eastern side of Lake Garda. It's a beautiful part of Italy. It has everything, and it has historic villas. It has historic art cities and noble villas, beautiful countryside. I like maps, so this is a little bit of a deeper dive into the region of the Veneto. There are 7 provinces. We're going to take a look at some of them tonight. Venice, the iconic Venice, is the capital of the Veneto, and if you have never been, you must go. If you have been, you have to go back. There is just it is like a living, breathing, walking museum. I think we've all heard the last few months of how quiet Venice is, how the water is so clear, how it's so much less crowded. It was getting over touristed, and it was really interesting. A couple of weeks ago, I was on a Zoom call with a colleague who is the sales manager at the Gritty Palace, which is a beautiful 5-star hotel on the right on the Grand Canal. And she said, I have to show you something. And she took her computer over to the window. And normally, you know, if you've been to Venice, even if you've never been, you've seen the photos, the Grand Canal, there's so much hustle and bustle, and there's gondolas, and there's boats, and there's the UPS boat, and the garbage boat, and the laundry boat, and everything, the taxis. And we look out the window, and there's one gondola, one lone gondola, one half-empty vaporetto, a couple of motorboats. That was it. That's what Venice looks like now.
Wow.
You know, who knows what it's going to look like when we're ready to go back, but wouldn't it be nice to have just a little bit of that?
I like it. That's what people are there for, right? They want
Exactly, right? Exactly. We just hope it's going to be different next time. Venice has 118 islands and 500 bridges. And I'm going to go out on a limb that if you've been to Venice, you're probably saying, yeah, I think I walked over, you know, probably all of those 500 bridges. There are some islands that are easier to get to. One of those is Murano, which is known for its glass, handmade glass. The glass makers are true artisans, and they make anything from sculptures to chandeliers to wine glasses, drinking glasses, jewelry. It is all beautiful. It's all such eye candy when you walk around and you see the colors. You could go into a workshop and you can watch them make the glass, watch them blow the glass. One of the things that when you do go, you always want to make sure that you're buying authentic, real, either Venetian or Murano glass, because there is glass there that comes from other places.
Okay.
Murano is known for its Candyland colored houses. It's still is a fishing village. And the houses are painted that color so that at night, before there was electricity, when the fishermen would come home, they could easily find their house.
Aww.
Murano is also known for handmade lace. And there are shops that sell just the most exquisite tablecloths and pillowcases and sheets and clothing that the women you can still watch them make. It is absolutely a dying art. The women who are doing it are older, and the younger women just don't want to do it.
Right.
You know, an interesting thing I want to mention about the houses and the color of the houses, when you buy that house, that's the color that it is, and that's the color that it always will be. So if you buy that Pepto-Bismol pink house and you want to paint it that periwinkle blue next door, you can't. You're stuck with that Pepto-Bismol blue house forever.
Wow.
Forever.
You have to make sure you don't have the intention to change the color. That's
right,
it.
Exactly. Because the first thing people buy a house, they go, I'll paint it. Now you can't do that on Murano. There's another island that you could get to. You could walk there from Murano. It's called Mazzorbo, and you just walk over a bridge. And the interesting thing about Mazzorbo is there's a vineyard there. It is the only vineyard in the Venetian lagoon. There is the Venisa wine resort. The wine is absolutely fabulous. You could have a fabulous tasting. There's also a Michelin restaurant that you could visit and that you can dine at. A couple of the other islands are Torcello, which is very peaceful and quiet, and it has the 7th century cathedral there. At one point, there were 20,000 people that lived on Torcello. Now there's just a handful, but you could go and you can spend some time. You could. There's a couple of restaurants. You could actually even stay there because there is an inn. Another island that Torcello, Murano, you can get to via public transportation. Okay. There's one that you can't, which is definitely very unique and very special. It's San Francesco del Deserto, and it is named for St. Francis of Assisi, who visited there in 1220. And now it's home to just a few monks who live in the monastery. They give tours, so you can pre-book. You could go out there. It's so peaceful. It's so serene. And it is just really a throwback to such a different age.
Well, Laney, you said we could, you read my mind. You could actually island hop. You could take a water taxi and island hop your way and go shopping and get the lace and then go to the Michelin restaurant and go get your glass. But then how do you get to the island?
You would have to take a private boat. So either a private water taxi could take you out there, or you pre-arrange in advance with some sort of, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Food is one of the reasons why a lot of us travel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right, Giovanna, right?
Love it. I see Caffè. I love it.
So on the left, we have very common Venetian dish, fritto misto, which is very lightly fried sardines, anchovies, calamari, and shrimp. And on the left is a pasta with some seafood. When you go to Venice, you want to make sure that you have seafood, because it doesn't get any fresher. It's coming right. It's all right there.
Wow.
Verona is another very lovely city in the Veneto. This is the arena that was built in the 1st century, not to be confused with the Colosseum, although it does sort of look like it, doesn't it? It is the arena. It's used now for performances and opera and other theater. When it was built, it held 30,000 people. Now it holds 15,000 people. And it is going to be the site of the closing games of the 2026 Winter Olympics that are taking place in Milan and Cortina d'Ampezzo.
Wow. That's just magical too, Laney, that this exists and it's still in use.
Absolutely, right?
Magical. Yeah.
Treviso, this is Maria's hometown. It is lovely. It's a really lovely town. It's more of a city, 80,000 people. It has some canals, but definitely not like Venice. There's fabulous restaurants and shopping. It's known for radicchio, right, Maria? On the right is the Fontana delle Tette, the Fountain of the Tits, that was created in 1559. There was a severe drought, and the mayor ordered the construction of this marble fountain depicting a woman holding her breasts. So every year, when there was a new mayor elected, in celebration, there was red wine coming out of one and white wine coming out of the other. Now it's just water. And actually, this one is a reproduction that was erected in 1989. The original is actually just right around the corner from where this one is, behind glass. And you could see.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And just a little side note, I do take people on tours, and I will say that every man that stands there has to get his picture taken like he's in 7th grade next to the fountain.
Of course.
So, well, yeah.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys.
No, I do have a question though. Is the drinking water, let's say one of our members decides, oh, you know what? I'm going to Treviso next because we always go to Venice or wherever. Is the water from this fountain potable? Is one able to drink it? Or is this just a fountain?
I think it's just a fountain. I don't know. We've never tried.
I confirm. It is. Is
it, Elisabetta?
It is portable, I confirm. Because that's the part for the boys we were talking about before. What you actually do, I would never do that. But the boys, when you reach the statue, you kind of put a hand on one of the tits, and the water comes out stronger from the other side.
Really?
Oh.
It's drinkable.
Leave it to the guys to figure that out.
Of course, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
We're moving on to Vicenza.
Okay.
And Vicenza is known for the many buildings designed by Andrea Palladio in the 16th century. This is the Teatro Olimpico. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is the oldest theater in the world. This is the stage set, and it is the oldest surviving stage set in existence. What's interesting about this is this is not 3D. It is a trompe-l'oeil. It looks like the street recedes into the horizon. It doesn't. It's all painted.
Wow. I really thought I was looking through something.
Yeah, no, it's a stage set.
Wow. It's gorgeous.
Merostica is a very charming walled medieval city. It's known for cherries in June, cherries everywhere. The picture on the left with the bell, we are standing in the lower castle. And if you look through that picture, at the top, you'll see the upper castle. So Merostica has a lower castle and upper castle. And then the piazza in the middle, the Palazzo Castello, the Piazza Castello is checkerboard patterned. And there's a very interesting story about this. There were, hundreds of years ago, there were two writers who both fell in love with the lovely Leonora. And she was the daughter of the local governor. Mm. And according to the custom in those days, they needed to challenge each other for her hand in marriage. And her father said, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to play a chess game. And one of you is going to get Leonora and the other is going to get her sister Orlando. So they challenged each other. One of them won the hand of Leonora, the other one Orlando, who was just as lovely, and everybody lived happily ever after. Now, every 2 years, on even numbered years, there is a festival, and over 400 of the townspeople get dressed up, reenact the entire story with a live chess game. And you have the king and the queen, and you have real horses, and you have, I mean, not that donkeys are in a chess game, but there are donkeys in the performance. And it is just fascinating to see this whole performance. And if you notice in the picture on the right, there's bleachers. So they set up bleachers. So every 2 years, they have the bleachers set up. They do 2 performances of this. And then they do, a lot of times they'll bring in another performer on another night because everything is set up. 4 years ago, we were so very fortunate that Andrea Bocelli was performing then. And we knew this well in advance. We knew this in February, so we had bought our tickets. It was probably the most magical evening I've ever had, where there you are on a September evening in this gorgeous piazza in Italy with the stars twinkling above, and the castle, the lower castle is all lit in the upper castle, and there's a stage, and everyone is all dressed so either, you know, elegantly or just casually, chicly Italian, and then out he comes, and it is beyond amazing. Anyway, we were supposed to be there last week. We had tickets in our hands for Andrea Bocelli, which he did cancel. But fortunately, he was such a nice guy and checked with us, and he is doing it again next year for the same time. So our tickets are still good. We have them. So a year from now, we are going to be right there, sitting there, watching Andrea Bocelli.
You're going back.
Going back. Absolutely. Wow. Done, gone, doing it.
Wow.
Tickets are in hand.
Wow. And now let me ask you something. You said you have this lower castle and the one up on the hill. Are either of those, have they been turned into hotels? Are they privately owned now?
No, so the lower one, and actually this picture here of Andrea, so if you look at that castle, that's the lower castle. So the window all the way to the left was what we were looking out of in that other one. So in there, there's like a museum. So you could walk in here, and there's some offices in here, and there's a museum. Up at the top of the hill, there's a restaurant, right, Elisabetta?
Yes, a restaurant, yes.
A restaurant.
Yes.
But no, they're not hotels.
Okay.
Bassano del Grappa is another really lovely town located at the foothills of the foot of Monte Grappa on the Brenta River. It's also, Bassano del Grappa is famous for its white asparagus. It's also famous for ceramics, and it is also famous for grappa.
Yeah.
This is the bridge is the Ponte degli Alpini, which was designed and built, designed by Palladio in 1569, and has been destroyed many times over the years, most recently in World War II. Mm-hmm. Bassano is a really lovely town. It's got three main squares, and there's lots of activity. There's lots of restaurants and bars and shops, and there's people all about. It's a place that I personally really like a lot.
Oh, wow.
The majestic Dolomites, which are UNESCO World Heritage Site, they are at the north of the Veneto for skiing in the winter and hiking in the summer, and hang gliding and rock climbing and paragliding and all of those things. It's just absolutely stunning.
Laney, you know what? That is on my bucket list, and there's so many pictures on Pinterest of the Dolomites and little lakes and little streams and rivers in the summertime too. But I mean,
a year-round destination.
Yeah, even though I don't care for real cold weather, I'm like, I will go to that. It's beautiful.
Put it on that list, Giovanna.
Okay. We'll check it out.
This is the medieval town of Oslo, which is picturesque and charming and walled and cobblestoned. And it was named one of the Borghi più belli d'Italia, the most beautiful small villages in Italy. And it is well deserved. It is absolutely, absolutely stunning. It's also known as the City of 100 Horizons because the views are so spectacular and gorgeous. As I mentioned, I do tours. Our Taste of Prosecco in the Veneto is next year, September 12th to the 18th. Okay. Sicily is October 12th to the 21st. That's my email. That's my phone number. I think Eileen is going to put the link in the website. I still have spots available. I would love to have you join me. I love, love, love to show people these two magnificent parts of Italy. I am taking you up to Valdobbiadene, where Elisabetta is waiting for us. Literally, she's waiting for us.
I know, right?
It's so late for us.
This is amazing, Laney. I have to tell you, you know, if you do need some company on this Italian trip, I'm in.
Okay.
Those places off my bucket list. It's to die for. So I'm excited. And I know a lot of people are going to have questions, and I think I have a couple of questions for you, and I'll ask you those at, when question time rolls around.
Okay, sure. Great.
So, but now, we have Elisabetta Berra, a certified sommelier, coming to us live from Italy, where the local time is 1 a.m. Elisabetta was born in England to parents from Veneto. Ever since she was 21, she's fallen in love with Prosecco and has been giving regional wine tours for a number of years. So, hi, Elisabetta, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's an honor for me to be able to represent my region, Veneto, through some of its most important wines.
I'm so happy to have you. I feel like this is amazing, So tell me how, 21 here, of course, we're all going to fall in love with wine or something. Tell me briefly about yourself.
Well, as you said, I was born in England. Perhaps you've noticed by my accent.
Right.
But my parents, I use my hands when I talk like an Italian.
You're bilingual.
Yes, absolutely, that's right. The story of very many Italians either migrated first to the States and South America, and then later on in the 50s, after the end of the Second World War, many Italians immigrated to European countries. Fortunately, my father decided for England because Belgium perhaps it would have been less useful as a language. And then in 1970, we came back. I was a teenager at that time, and we settled down in Veneto, which was actually where my parents had their family. And here I am. I'm still living in Italy. I have a very Italian husband who's sitting in the room just next to this one. and 3
gets to sleep.
And 4 grandchildren, by the way.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, tell me what makes Prosecco so special and or special to you?
Well, it's all comes from Valdobbiadene. Let's say that the 2 main producing areas are the Conegliano Valdobbiadene, which is quite a handful to say, and then there's another DOCG, which is wine appellation for the best wines throughout Italy, and the other DOCG area is around Asolo, which Laney has just shown us some pictures of, and so these are the 2 main production areas for the best Prosecco. So,
Elisabetta, would you like to share your screen with us so we can see?
Certainly. Here I go. Let me put myself.
That sharing screen.
That's right. Thank you. Here it is. Share. And here we go.
Go.
No, sorry. Here we are. Excuse me. Is it?
Perfect.
Here we are. So I also like maps, like Laney. But this is a wine map, okay? So it has the names of the areas and the towns or cities where the best wines in Veneto come from.
Okay.
The land actually is made up of 3 large regions. So as we saw the Dolomites first, these are all up in the north part of Veneto. Here we are. Can you see me indicating the mountain area? And then we have a hilly region, which includes Conegliano, Valdobbiadene. And then we have all this area, the foothills of the Dolomites go all the way down west towards Verona. So our wines for this evening will start off with Prosecco, of course, because it's considered an aperitif wine. And then we will move to this area here, this light blue, Soave. Soave actually means kind and gentle, and the landscape is definitely very beautiful, and the wine too has the same characteristics as the name of the town. And then we move to Verona, and north from Verona we'll have the Valpolicella area, and so we'll end with a glass of red, which is Valpolicella Ripasso. Okay, and here we are. So I would start straight away with our first slide. Our next here is a view of the Prosecco Hills, which Laney also shows us behind her on her screen. And this little village is called Santo Stefano. And as you can see, the village is completely surrounded by vineyards. Yeah. And are cultivated all the way up the hill, and at a certain point there are still woods, not because nobody wants to cut them down, and they would if they could, excuse me the rhymes, but the vines produce best grapes up to a certain height. It's about 500 meters above sea level, and so that's why you can still see woods that survive on top of the hills, but otherwise, these little patches are vineyards, and you can see how the landscape is very particular. Actually, since last year, this area is certified by UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its landscape and for its color. There we are. And we're all very proud of this, and everyone's doing a good job keeping the hills tidy and getting ready for when at last tourism will start out again. We were supposed to have the first tourists this year, and obviously everything has been stuck, and now we are seeing people from Austria, Switzerland, and Germany a lot, because they just drive down, and it's become safe and it's easy for European countries to reach us. But we'll be ready for next year, and we hope things will change, don't we, Laney, for next year. Here we go, and this is another map, of course. It's a closer look to the Prosecco area. Actually, now we have gone through the region which is next to Veneto, because the whole DOC area, here we have Prosecco DOC, which is a little step under the DOCG, okay, spread throughout 7 different provinces. And so all this area is now producing glera, which is the great variety that gives us Prosecco. So imagine that in this area, we have produced close to 400 million bottles of Prosecco each year. And so now we're going to concentrate in this light green area. Here's Valdobbiadene, and this is the DOCG. So because this is a hilly area, the Prosecco definitely has different characteristics compared to the flat land where the rest of the glera is cultivated. Here's Asolo. Let's go ahead. And here
a question. Elisabetta, the DOC and the DOCG, is the DOCG better than DOC, or they're just different because they're different tastes?
Well, no, there is a chart, in fact, and so the most important Italian wines, there are 74 DOCGs throughout.
That's what I need to look for.
Well, that's definitely the wine that is guaranteed, obviously. So it's the denomination of origin is controlled and guaranteed. That is what the letters stand for. And yes, definitely those are the top wines of the list. Brunello di Montalcino is a DOCG, for example, and Barolo and etc. And since 2009, Prosecco has been awarded the DOCG appellation. Okay, so here we go. And here's our glass of wine. I have decided to explain to you all three of the wines and leave our tasting for the end. Otherwise, if you start drinking now, you won't be able to follow me until the end. This is the bottle of the Prosecco we are going to try this evening. This is Viaggio of Bisol.
That's what I got here. And if any of our members that are on, if you guys bought this bottle too, just make a comment in the chat box. Just entertain us.
Yes, okay. So Bisol belongs to one of the main producing wineries in Valdobbiadene. It was founded actually in 1542. So it's been in the business for over 21 generations, imagine. Viaggio is short, it's a nickname, it's a dialect word. It comes from the word desiderio, who is the grandpa of the family, but now there's also one of the youngsters of the grandchildren that also has the name Desiderio. This is something very Italian that throughout the generations repeat the grandfathers' names. There we are. Let's go ahead. Now we're changing area. If you remember in the map, we're moving towards Verona, just 30 kilometers out of Verona. We will meet Soave, that very much like Asolo, or Marostica, is a medieval walled city. Very pretty. The landscape is similar to Valdobbiadene, but the hills are softer and many of the vineyards are actually in the plain land.
You can tell it's flatter, like you mentioned, yes.
Yes, you see the landscape is different, while in Valdobbiadene it's called a heroic harvest, because you actually have to use mountain boots to harvest in the area. Here in some areas you can actually use machines to harvest, while in the Valdobbiadene area it's not allowed. Apart from it's impossible to use tractors in yards, so it's all hand picked. Here we are, and here is the grapes with which Soave is made. It's called Garganega. Very few manage to say this word right. I heard sommeliers that I would need a little Italian lesson. It's hard. It's actually a dialect word, because originally these grapes arrived from Greece. It has a very, very long history. It comes from Greece, and the original word is Greccanico. In other parts of Italy, it's still cultivated as Greccanico, and the dialect, it became throughout the years Garganega. Here we are. It's similar to Pinot Gris. It has these light green and pinkish notes and very thin skin, delicious grapes, and even more delicious is the wine. Here we are, Soave. And this is our second wine in our wine tasting, Pietrobon 2019 Soave Classico. That means it comes from the historical production area. Let's go ahead. Now we're moving, now we're north of Verona. Again, a different landscape, and you can see vineyards everywhere. But Valpolicella. This is also a very, very ancient production area. It was known since the Roman times. Imagine, Valpolicella, actually most of you I heard have an Italian heritage, and so know that Val is valley, Poli, the valley of the many cellars, wine cellars. So imagine, since back in the Roman times, this area was famous for its wine cellars. Let's move on. These are the wines. Now here is a little bit more complicated with our Amarone, Ripasso and Valpolicella are the three major wines produced in this area. And here I have the grape varieties written for you. Corvina, which is the main, usually it's at 60, 70, up to 80% of the wines contained in Amarone, Valpolicella and Ripasso are Corvina. And then there's a smaller, could be around 30% of Rondinella and Molinara in a slightly lower percentage. The training system is made with canopies in the pergola system. And here, these are all three black-berried grapes. Let's proceed. And here's our glass of Ripasso that's waiting for us. This is our winery for this evening, Montresor Valpolicella Ripasso, Capital della Crosara, because they are so maniacs in this area. Well, many crazy wine growers throughout all of Italy, but actually the area of Valpolicella is split into the different names of the vineyards. So each vineyard has its name. Capital della Crosara is probably a little shrine, placed on a crossroads, and they actually harvest the grapes, keeping them separate from each vineyard, and then they produce them the wines. Each have their wine from the different small vineyards. Imagine, so this is the one we're having.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Okay, I have finished.
I love it. I love it.
And so, are we ready to drink? I think so.
I mean, we're always ready to drink. Have you met us? I'm just kidding. If any of you ladies watching are joining us, tell us, share with us what you're drinking, or I know somebody mentioned that they had a hard time finding it at Total Wine, but whatever you're drinking, share with us. Let's entertain each other while we're here, Elisabetta, my favorite wine, and all my friends can attest to this, is Prosecco. And I will have a question for you later during question time.
Good. Okay, fine.
Prosecco always has been, and now I feel like I need to go straight to the source and go bring a glass.
Okay, here I am. So if you all have a glass, we can try it together.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. Yeah. So, you know what? Now that we've been captivated by wine and an Italian getaway, I feel like it's time for dessert. So we're going to travel back to Stamford, where Treviso native and local chef Maria Pietrobon is whipping up some tiramisu with her secret recipe that was first created in the 1970s. Maria now runs her own catering business out of Connecticut and out of an original espresso truck that also serves paninis. Hi, Maria. How are you?
Glad to be here and glad to be representing Italy, of course, the Veneto, and also the city where I grew up as well.
Awesome. If you could speak up just a little bit louder, Maria, just pretend you're over there in Treviso right now, and we're trying to hear you all the way in Treviso or Stamford.
Yes.
So tell us about the tiramisu. What makes it so popular?
So what it makes it popular because it's simply so good.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is that I would like to share some tips, because there are different variations out there of the tiramisu, but you can there are simple tips that you can use to make it very good. So first and foremost, I want to say that that is one of my favorite desserts, and it was brought into my family by my sister Zena, that in the late 1970s, early 80s, she worked at the Ristorante Biccari in Treviso. So, and I remember the day that she came home and she said, "Today I'm going to make a dessert that everyone is going crazy about it, and they're coming from all over to try it. Esecciama, she said in dialect, Esecciama tiramisù. And when she said that, I started laughing, giggling, saying tiramisù. I thought it was a joke because the word tiramisù means pick me up or, you know, or lift me up.
Right.
Just imagine you trip. If you trip and you fall, you ask your friend, tiramisù, partese, right? Tiramisù.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so since then, she shows how to make it. And of course, it has become the staple dessert for my family. Is it a birthday? We always have a tiramisu. Is it Christmas? We have a tiramisu. Is it Easter? There is always a tiramisu.
I love it.
So there are some variations, as I said before, about the tiramisu, but what is the more important thing is to use fresh ingredients. I use, and I suggest to use only pasteurized eggs, just because it's safer the way. And the tiramisu is made with a few ingredients. So we have eggs,
Okay.
sugar, we have mascarpone, we have the lady fingers, they're also called savoiardi, we have the espresso, and a little bit of cacao, a little bit of dark cocoa on top, okay? So the way we do it and the way we assemble it, because of time, is not much time to do it from scratch and show it to you, I'm trying to create the different phases, okay? So this is what I do. I first separate the eggs. So you separate the egg. I'll do the last one here.
Make sure, Maria, you speak loud enough for all of us to hear your secret recipe.
Okay.
We all want to know your secret recipe.
Yes? Can you hear
I can hear you better now.
Okay. I should
A little louder.
Louder. Okay.
Yeah.
So we separate the eggs. Sorry, it doesn't crack here. So you separate the egg from the red, from the egg yolks, and the egg whites. We start by you beat in the food processor, so you see it, right? You beat the egg whites until stiff, until it's nice and stiff. And then what you do is one tip I want to give you is about how to beat the egg yolks. You know, if you egg yolks, before you put the sugar, what you want to do, you want to beat them like a minute. So you incorporate air into the eggs, in the egg yolk, and also creates a little bit of volume. So when you add the sugar, it's gonna be gradually. So you allow it to grow and become fluffy. If you put it all at once, it becomes this big lump, and you will never be able to create this voluminous volume. Okay, that's one tip. So here I have some I started before. I start and I finish it. Let's see if it goes. Tell me if there is too much noise, so then I'll stop it. But so I beat the egg yolk for like a minute. So you raise in volume. I take a little bit of the sugar, approximately a cup. It's like 4 eggs, 1 cup of sugar. And then slowly I add the sugar, right?
Okay, so 4 eggs and slowly 1 cup of sugar.
A little less, yes, approximately.
Okay. Secret recipe.
And so it would take a little bit of time, I would say. It would take 10 minutes, solid 10 minutes. What you want to do, you want to have the egg yolk becomes white, fluffy, and that is creating in volume. All right. There we go. We take a little bit, but here, I want to show you something.
Sure, show us.
I think 15 minutes will not be enough time to show you that. So you see how they become?
Yes.
These are only egg yolks, and these are only egg yolks and sugar. I put it back in there. Let's see. There we go. After like 10 minutes, what you do, you add the mascarpone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very creamy cheese, right? Super good. And I'm going to turn this off just to be safe. And you hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you better, yes.
Here we go. We put it mascarpone in there. Turn it back on.
And Maria, do you make your own mascarpone or do you buy it?
No, I'll buy it.
You buy it?
Yes, it's from Italy. It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah. So you beat it until it becomes incorporated into the egg yolks, right? And sugar mixture. And then what you add are the egg whites, okay? The egg whites are beat it already before. They're a little,
Okay.
a little settled a little bit, usually. And what you do is you fold them in. You don't beat them. You simply fold it in.
And that's egg whites.
Whites, yes.
How many?
4.
4 as well.
4 eggs. I want to take this off.
Maria, do you do any behind the scenes cooking lessons for people?
Yes, actually I do. And interesting enough, sadly for COVID, it got canceled. But I was supposed to do a pasta making and a ragu classic. I was supposed to have a bus full of students, 50 students coming over. And, you know, unfortunately, hopefully we will be able to do it again after the COVID.
Yes.
You know, fold it in, you start from the center and you turn it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And then what you do is actually, I already did it before just because it was a little bit easier. So then we are going to talk about a little bit about the savoiardi, also known as the lady fingers. This is very important. I think sometimes when you make something in Italy, it's never about being complicated or complex. It's about simplicity, and it's about knowing the little tricks to keep things coming out in a certain way.
Okay.
So the lady fingers, it's a spongy cookie. I'll show you. It's a sponge cookie that is composed by a crust on top. So one top is a little bit harder. So when you soak them into the coffee, into the espresso, what you want is you want to keep the hardest part on the top.
Hardest part goes on the top.
Yeah, it sits, you know, when you sit in your tray, you want to sit on the top, not on the bottom, because what you want to do is you want this lady finger when it's soaked to support the next layer, right? Yeah. Right. So here I have an espresso made before, and one very important thing about the espresso is, and that's another tip for the tiramisu, not hot, not warm, not cold from the fridge.
Okay.
That's the secret. Because if it is too hot or too warm, basically it mush the lady fingers, right? Become too soapy. If it is too cold, like from the fridge, it will not be able to absorb enough coffee for later, right? It become dry inside. So temperature is key. And the original recipe did not have any liquor, but I say I like mine with a little bit of rum. So here we go. A nice flavor. And you can soak the lady fingers with the savoiardi with a tongue, right? But I prefer to use gloves, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes after many years of doing this tiramisu, I noticed one thing. If it is too soaked, it becomes too mushy. If it is, you know, so you learn all these little details, right? So when I use the gloves, and I use gloves because otherwise my fingers would be brown for like a week. That's why. So use gloves, and that's what I do. And we're going to
Cooking it in espresso with a shot of rum.
Yes, I like it. I like it that way.
Okay, so we're sneaking in caffeine and alcohol.
Just for the flavor, right? It's nothing.
Sure.
Just a little flavor. So what we do is we soak them in the cafe, in the coffee, in the espresso. When you take it out, what you want to do, I don't know if you can see it. You want to see?
I can see, yes.
You turn it upside down, because what I do, I use gravity. So if you just soak it in this way and put it into the thing, what happens is you get wet on the bottom too much, but then it is not wet in the inside. So and this is kind of a tips I want to give you. So you soak it, you almost feel it, and when you turn it, you almost feel the weight going down to the bottom.
Right.
So it's a little harder, the crust of the sugar, the glaze of the biscotti, the lady fingers, and then you go down the way. So I'm going to be, I don't know how many minutes I've left there, not many.
Not many, but
Okay.
we'll watch.
Another tip I want to give you is, this way faster. I feel it, you see, I feel the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel it. And what you do is you squish them. I want to show you. Another way to support the second layer is you make sure that you push them together.
Okay.
Because by doing that, if it's not too close, they will collapse. But if you squeeze them together, you create an extra, you want it tight.
Right.
L'unione fa la forza, that's what we say in Italy.
Okay.
So there we go, and I go for the second layer. So now I take the crema. Sorry.
I just wish that, we could pick a winner and you would just mail it to a winner. Like.
Yes, I can. I don't mail it. Maybe they gotta come and pick it up. I will do that. Yeah, let's take a little bit of the cream, la crema.
Mm-hmm.
We put it here. It's very fluffy, very airy.
Looks delicious already.
Yes, I tell you. And I'm hungry. So here we go. You go with a spoon, you created the thing.
Okay.
You go to the corner, you spread it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is a little bit more, why not? I say.
Sure.
Then we go for the second layer. We repeat.
Repeat everything over. Okay.
And
so you go on and I'll ask you a couple of questions while you do that. That looks amazing. You'll refrigerate it for how many minutes do you refrigerate that for?
I suggest 5 to 6 hours. Personally, I prefer it overnight.
Okay.
Because if you do it overnight, the flavor just intensifies. It does. Okay.
Do you like to let it sit out for a few minutes before serving? Serve it immediately.
I like it from the fridge directly. I would not. It's good when it's cold. Personally, I like it that way.
Okay.
Yes. So here I'm going to go a little faster. So, but
Mm-hmm.
there we go. So to do the second layer, and then what you do is you top it off. You top it off with some cacao at the end.
Okay.
So it's very simple. Listen, very simple. You have eggs, you have sugar, you have mascarpone, the espresso, the lady fingers. The little tip is the temperature of the espresso and how you soak the lady fingers, the must savoiardi. And then you basically top it with some cacao.
Okay.
What I love to do and I tell people to use is a little bit of a tea strainer. Like the tea strainer is perfect. I've been using this for so many years. And so you get your cacao, right?
Yes.
And you simply go like this, right?
Pretty. Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's, it's very, by the way, buy dark cacao. The Dutch process one is probably the best. I've seen people making it with Nesquik. Don't do that. Please don't. Yes. There we go. And this is the tiramisu. I should clean the edges, but I wanted to show you. It's
gorgeous, delicious, everything. Mouth-watering. Good job.
This I made it. So listen, this I made it yesterday because I wanted to show you if I can cut it if you have time. Then I want to do this, but anyway, the tiramisu. I remember it became. We used to beat the eggs by hand. Those little beater You go like this. So
Yes.
the bowl, two sisters, it was a big bowl, right? It was many of us. So, and then, one, turned the thing and we took turns. It was interesting. But let's see.
That is amazing. I'm coming up right now. How many hours is it to Connecticut?
And this is the tiramisu. So what you want to do is a little bit fluffy, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's, yes.
I want to say something. So in January, when the Connecticut chapter, Pat organized we did this, the Veneto in Maria's kitchen, and Maria made so much stuff. She did bacala, she made so many really cicchetti appetizers. And this tiramisu, I have to say, I'm going to say this, Maria, and I honestly, because I told you this, it's really the best I've ever had. Her tiramisu is beyond amazing. So whatever you're seeing there, it's fabulous. So everyone needs to come to Connecticut, to Maria's kitchen, and have tiramisu.
Everybody get your train ticket. Let's go.
I'm happy to make it. Just call me and I'll make it for you. But I wanted to say, as we say, we say in Veneto, in Italy, we say "c'est proprio bon," right?
Aww.
It's really good. I love it. So thank you for allowing me to share this, and also thank you for naming my truck, which is right here. I have a story to tell, but I don't know if we have enough time to share it. Of course, maybe next.
Tell it now. Do you have? We can give you a couple minutes. Go for it.
Well, because so many people, I have this espresso truck that, it's a wow factor, because after 10 years being in business with this espresso truck, people still asking me, oh my God, this is beautiful, this is gorgeous. And, and it's always this wow factor. And how did you get this idea, they ask me. And so I tell them, what it was. It was my son was 3 years old, and I took him to the soccer games, right? It was the first soccer games he used to play, and it was cold, right? So he's rushing as a mom. Get the child ready, get the shoes, get the socks, right? I said, no time for coffee. Say, I get it on my way there. Then you get a red light, a true red light. I say, oh, forget it. So you're finally in the soccer field, right? You watch your beautiful kid playing and you're happy. And then I said, God, I didn't have my coffee yet. And I said, if I could only have a cup of coffee, I would pay $20 for it. And then talking to the other mothers, they all said, me too, me too, me too. And I would pay $20 for a coffee. And I say, imagine if we could have forget about coffee. How about if we could have an espresso or a caffè latte, a cappuccino? And that's how we started. And so, my son started kindergarten, and I did a research, and searched for a year. And I decided to pull the trigger and I say, I'm going to do it.
I think it's a beautiful concept. I love the idea. I love that you manifested it. I mean, I'm sure you thank your son for it, for the idea.
Maria has made me hungry. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here in local time, but we have forgot that along with being hungry, we're also thirsty. So we have tasting. So in the meantime, I poured out the 3 wines. If you allow me just 2 minutes to finish off and
yeah, absolutely.
Wines, and I see there are different questions, and I'll be happy to answer. So here is our Prosecco, it's an aperitif wine. It's a simple wine. People say in this area, life is already so complicated, especially this year, as we all know. So isn't it lovely to have a simple, easy wine, not too strong, light, fruity, well balanced between acidity and fruitiness, inexpensive, easy to drink, so pairs with many antipasti and light dishes, risotto with vegetables and light seafood. Here we go. Pale straw yellow color. Okay, imagine I poured this glass at the beginning of the meeting. That means an hour ago. Believe me, there's still bubbles getting out. So the perlage is very persistent with this Bisol Yeyo. I've seen that other people have Mioneto. That's fine, because now since Prosecco is so popular and it's going so strong throughout all the world, every producer is trying to keep up the best standard with their Proseccos. though, of course, we can distinguish, then I'll go back to this for the Soave, but there are many imitations of Prosecco. So then, of course, it depends a lot where the vineyard is placed, how much sun exposure it gets, and how the climate, how the wine master works in the winery. There are so many different notes. So that's why I recommend to stick to either a DOC or the DOCG, as in this case. So here we go.
Yeah.
Very fresh and fruity, and very intense. Actually, pouring it out before, it's actually improved, rather than just taking it out from the fridge and pouring it and drinking it away. All wines seem to gain once they open in the glass, and even if it's not so chilly cold as you would expect to drink Prosecco, in my opinion, the wine gets much, much better. The perfumes are much intense. So here we have green apple, pear, hints of white flowers, of sapidity, mineral notes, because all the hills in the Valdobbiadene area are morenic. There's lots of limestone, calcareous, clay, and these are the characteristics of the Prosecco.
We have a question from one of our viewers.
Yes.
Suzanne Polmar asks, Elisabetta, I find most Soaves uninteresting. Could you suggest some good ones?
Okay, I understand her, because exactly what happens with Prosecco, that the production area has become so vast. Unfortunately, not all the Prosecco are as good as others. The same thing happens with Soave. This is my second glass. This is my Soave Pietrobon, Soave Classico. So here again, this is a DOC, which is a wonderful Soave. You have to stick to the major wineries. I have a list actually for Suzanne, because I did read her question. So definitely some of the best wineries, along with Pietrobon, is Roccasveva and then Coffele. Eventually I can write these down so you can have the list.
That's not a bad idea. You know,
that's
we could get
easier. Okay. Another good winery.
Suggestions along with anything else, any other comments that Maria or Laney would like to add, or any other suggestions, references, and we could do a mass email to all the people that joined us. That way they have something, right? Something extra.
Yeah, so I can write the names of the major wineries so that you don't spend your money for anything, because it's important to find the right wine master. And as you saw, the land, it's volcanic, by the way, for Garganega, and it's one of the most cultivated grape varieties throughout all of Veneto. And so that's why it's important to stick to the denomination. That means the terroir. It does make the difference, because if you cultivate both Glera or Garganega and you're close to the coastal area, the southern part of the region, so out in the countryside, it hasn't got the sun exposure that you have in the hills. It has a completely different sandy terroir, and it gives different characteristics. You have a completely different taste. So they say that the vines ought to be stressed a little. You can't make life too easy for them. It's like raising children. If you
stress the vines with this online schooling. How about that?
So the vine has to suffer a little. So it's hard to make its way with the roots, to find water, to find the different nutrients in the land, and that gives it much better flavors. It gives it more character. Exactly.
Can you name two for Suzanne, two that you might suggest to her now? Of course, we can email a list of your
recommendations. Yeah, because the problem is you have to find a winery large enough that exports to the States, because it's a small family run. I would suggest Inama. INAMA, Inama, or to export. And I think Rocca's Beva certainly has, along with Pietrobon. These are definitely good quality Soave. Okay.
Very nice.
Tropical fruit, much more minerality. This wine is left to age a little, to refine in vitrified cement tanks. Okay, so it has this little refinement, and it adds to the taste of it. The aromas are wonderful, and this goes with more tasty seafood compared to Prosecco, which is more antipasti. You can have shrimp risotto, sea bass. I made a whole list of different pairings that you can have with this wine. Let's see.
Anyone else has any questions?
White meat, for example. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was saying, if anybody else has any questions for Elisabetta, go ahead and ask them in the chat box, or even Laney or Maria. If you have questions, go ahead and start putting those in the chat box. I'm sure they'll welcome your questions.
Good. I see Suzanne says thank you. Sure. And here again, shall we pass to our last wine, the reds? I don't know how many of you managed to find a bottle of Ripasso. Ripasso has a very interesting history, because usually abroad you find Amarone, which is an excellent, strong, dark red cherry wine, but it's very expensive, by the way. Imagine the prices in the States. Here in Italy, the minimum is a bottle of 30, 35 euros, and can go up to 60, 80, even 100 euros per bottle. About the best wineries in the Amarone area. Then we have Valpolicella, the same grape varieties, but the grapes are crushed freshly, bottled, and put on the market. So that's the lighter brother, so to say. Ripasso, which is our wine for this evening, is in between. So it's not as light as Valpolicella. It's not as strong as Amarone. It's a wonderful red wine. It has the same characteristics because it's the Valpolicella basic wine is put inside the tanks where the pomace of the Amarone grapes that have been essiccated, have been dried. It's called in Italian appassimento. And so what happened many, many years ago, there's a long story, but I'll make it short. Instead of throwing away all the pomace, which is still rich of flavors and sugars, we add the Valpolicella base wine on top of the pomace and make it re-ferment and macerate for minimum 3 days, up to 5 days. And this is the result, ripasso, which in fact means it's repassed. The wine repassed on the same grape skins that had been crushed, but are still rich in flavors. Cheers.
They're upcycling those grapes.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's very trendy. So nothing is thrown away. There you go.
I like it.
Dark cherry, deep plum, and lots of minerality.
Yes.
The tannins are very soft. It's very velvety. And I hope you're enjoying your wines over there.
I'm enjoying mine. I'm sure everyone's enjoying theirs. I do have a comment from Linda. She said, I love the Albino Armani, which was the second option for Soave. I prefer Pinot Grigio, but I would buy this again. It was delicious. Thank you for suggesting.
That's right. It's very similar to Pinot Grigio, that's true. But I'm pleased you found a good winery. Armani, Albino Armani is not only the stylist, it's also a lovely winery. Good for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, while we have the chat box open for questions, I'll go ahead and start till I see some questions coming in. And I'll start with you, Elisabetta, while I have you on.
Yes.
One thing is I felt like when I used to, I don't know how many years ago, I started liking Prosecco, but people didn't recognize what's Prosecco. What? I've never heard of it. I'm like, it's a white wine. It's like champagne. And they're like, so it's champagne. I'm like, no, it's Prosecco. And so now people are maybe starting to get what it is. But why do you feel that it's so rare? I mean, that maybe it's just unheard of. I mean, you said that it's starting to gain popularity, but
well, it's spreading fast. I think in the States, like around Europe, we have, well, imagine that 70% of all the national production of Prosecco is for foreign countries for export.
Okay.
Definitely more than yeah, so it's very, very much asked for now. But I think it's just an easy drink, and it's affordable, it's light, and I think that makes it so popular. Then, of course, again, as for the uninteresting Soave, you have to be careful in what you choose. That's why I believe Laney is doing a good job inviting and organizing tours in the DOCG areas. The places the landscape is breathtaking, as you have seen from the pictures. And the producers here, so the DOCG is 90 million bottles, okay? So now you have the proportion against the 400 million bottles of Prosecco that exported. Then there are some wineries that first I saw a name which I had never heard of, because there are some wineries that just focus on exporting wines to supermarkets. They cost very little, but obviously they do not have the characteristics of the DOC or the DOCG wine. So that's why it's important to come and visit the area and learn to distinguish a good Prosecco from a less good one, okay?
Okay. Well, real quick, what do you think, Charlene asks, what's the difference between Soave Bolla and Soave Classico? Years ago, they advertised Soave Bolla a lot.
Bolla is actually the family name of a large winery, okay? Bolla is the trade name. So that's that distinguishes the winery that produces Soave. Soave Classico, which you also have, these are the three different classifications of the best DOCG wines. They each can be found in the Classico version, in the Superiore version, and in the Riserva. These are the three words to look out for. So Classico means it comes from a delimited area that it's usually considered the historical area where the terroir gives its best expressions in the wine.
Very good. We have another question from Charlene. Charlene, if you would like to ask this question live, let me know. In the meantime, I'm going to jump over to Laney for another question for Laney. Laney, do you feel that tourism is hurting in Italy right now? And will 2021 be different? Will it become, will people still hesitate to travel in 2021? Or is it going to get super booked for all the people that canceled in 2020? What's your opinion on that, Laney, while we wait for Charlene to let me know?
Well, there's two things. First of all, the tourism, which is 16% of the GDP of Italy, is devastated. There is really no tourism. There's some European tourism, but Americans, we bring a lot to Italy. And of that 16% of the GDP, a huge number of those are small businesses, family-owned businesses, family-owned hotels and restaurants and tour guides and drivers. So Italy is hurting so awfully. And so if you were planning to go to see family, to go on a trip, to do whatever, as soon as you feel comfortable going, as soon as we can go, as soon as, just go, make your plans and go. What's going to happen? We don't know. The best thing is, and you have to remember that anybody that was going in 2020, it's now been pushed off to 2021. So if you're thinking of going in 2021, get that, book it now, get it so, you're going to mitigate any risks that you have, or as much as you can. Obviously, we don't want to lose money on our trips, right? Right. But and even if you say, well, I don't know about 2021, book it for 2022. You know, have it there. We're almost done with this year anyway, right?
Right, right. Okay, I like that. I feel like you gave us permission to go travel as soon as we feel good enough.
Only to your comfort level, right? I mean, some of us have our bags packed, right? We're ready.
Yes.
But you know, a lot of people, nope, it's not time yet, and that's okay.
All right. I like that answer. And I think, you know, I feel like there's probably some sort of effect that just lingers on too. I mean, it has this domino effect in Italy. When this hotel or this restaurant is affected, it's going to have that domino effect everywhere, not just the big cities.
Exactly.
So I'm going to try to put Charlene on to ask Elisabetta a live question. Okay. Charlene, let me see if I can get you to do this live here. I think your mute button or your mic is on, Charlene. Okay, nope, she said just go ahead and ask. Good enough. All right. Let's see. Yeah. So she says often we think of Prosecco and Cava similar to champagne, and champagne is sparkling wines. What, Elisabetta, is the major difference?
Yes, I want to take advantage of this also to reply to Camilla Galuzzo that makes a good point, because it's true, sometimes Prosecco is considered like a bad champagne. The first thing to say is Prosecco is not champagne. We call it spumante. It's all a white sparkling wine, but that's one of the bad things. We also can find bad champagne, by the way, okay, among champagnes. So we have completely different grape varieties, okay? This is something important to know. Prosecco is made from glera. Usually it's 100% glera, and champagne is made from Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. In France, it also has Pinot Meunier, but otherwise it's basically Chardonnay and Pinot. And champagne is made with the champenoise method. In Italy, we call it the traditional method. And it's placed in bottles after the first fermentation, and it has a second fermentation in bottles, and it needs aging. So it's yeastier, the acidity usually is a little bit more pungent, a little bit sharper, because the grape varieties are cultivated from the Champagne region, which is north of France, completely different climate to Italian grapes, while Prosecco, glera, okay, is made with a completely different method. So really, it doesn't make sense putting them both on the same level. Champagne obviously will cost much more, and Prosecco is much less pretentious, okay? Prosecco is made in stainless steel tanks. It has a very shorter process. It's never left to age. The second fermentation takes place in these stainless steel tanks where yeasts and sugars are added exactly like in champagne, but whereas champagne needs aging at least minimum 2 years to 3, 4, 5, etc., and then continues to evolve. Prosecco is considered a young, light wine, and after fermenting for about 20, 30 days, then some producers make a longer fermentation, usually not longer than 6 months fermentation, so it really becomes much more intense. It has yeasty notes like bread crust and so on, and more intense in color. And then the Prosecco is bottled and placed on the market. That's why it costs less than champagne, but there's no sense in comparing the two, because they're completely different wines. Okay, I think this explains a little.
I like that, because it's you're not trying to put, like you just said, you're not putting them on the same level.
No,
you're still defending Prosecco as in it's in a league of its own.
That's right.
It's in a league of its own. We're not trying to compare and make that one a bad champagne.
Yeah,
champagne
but
champagne.
I understand that it's a partly Italians' fault, because there's this competition between Italy and France.
Yeah.
Latin, populations, and they love finding good reasons to quarrel about. So for these last years, there's been a kind of a challenge. We use more bottles than you do, and so there's a kind of competition, which is terrible actually. But so the Prosecco wine growers are also happy because 2 years ago, the volume of numbers of bottles of Prosecco has in fact become higher than the bottles of champagne. But it's really, it's like childish games. It's no sense in comparing. It's not a battle. There are two different wines. I drink champagne in certain occasions, not as often as I drink Prosecco, which I have at my table every day. I mean, okay, it's much more.
I love it.
Absolutely. I can't compare the two things.
No, I like that we can defend it. It's in a league of its own. Let me jump over to Maria for a second. Maria, are you still thinking about possibly giving away that tiramisu to a local in Connecticut to come pick up?
Absolutely.
She said absolutely. I didn't hear her.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in the chat box, if you're still watching, let us know if you're interested in the tiramisu. Somebody, Pat said, I'm getting in the car right now. I love it. If you're interested, say something in the chat box. Maria, tell me, you have a catering business, but you also have the espresso truck. What would you see on, what sandwiches or lunches do you see on your espresso truck?
Well, we do very classic panini. But anyway, I only kept my 4 best, and that's how I learned. Depends which kind of event I go to. All of the Greenwich Polo Club is one type of panini. And then for other location, other events, a different kind. But mainly the favorite one for everybody is the Italiano. I use a rosemary bread, and I use a prosciutto, of course, prosciutto, fresh mozzarella, baby arugula, tomatoes, and then there is a little bit of a fig glaze, balsamic here as well, and I do my own infused basil olive oil, which brings the panini to the next level.
All of that sounds really mouth-watering. So are you parking your truck downtown, during busy lunch hours, or you are?
Well, actually, I used to focus mainly and only on private events. And the soccer games, the tackle football, for the youth, all the parents were there watching on Sunday.
Yes.
So we were always there. But now I do mainly private events, and I do park the truck where my commercial kitchen is, at 652 Glenbrook Road in Stamford. So let's say Monday through Thursday, you will find us here between 11 and 3. So we do lunch. And then Friday I am at Tully Health Center at the Stamford Hospital. I do the polo match on Sundays. And we also do private events. Of course, we do breakfast. So if we're not booked for the morning, you find us here. The truck will operate all the way through the end of October, and then we shut the truck down as the water pipes will freeze, so we have to dismantle the truck like it is a boat.
Wow, that's amazing. So would you be open to someone, inviting you over to their party or bringing the truck over? Would you be open to that?
Absolutely, we do. Yes, that's what we do a lot. We do. We just did last week, and we had a bridal shower and engagement party, and we also served like breakfast, a welcome back coffee and pastries for the morning, and yogurt parfait. That's what we do to the teachers, to different schools. So we go through our service, we open up, we have an open espresso bar menu, caffè latte, cappuccino, mocha, which I make my own mocha, by the way. Good. And so that's what we do. That's what we do. Yes, you can call us, and we would be happy to come. Usually I keep providing my services to Fairfield County, Connecticut, and Westchester, New York. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, we have a comment from Janet. I believe it says, Janet, I'm in DC. It's not too far. Thank you so much for sharing your recipe. I do come to Connecticut and will look to enjoy your specialties when I visit again. So
Please do, and actually mail me if you come, so I'll make some tiramisu for you, just for you.
oh my gosh, you're too nice. I think we should all adopt you. You cook and you're nice. I love it. Betty wrote, wish you were on Long Island, would love the truck. You know what? That's not a bad idea. Maybe you should open a truck on Long Island and one in DC.
I have a few people asking me many times that question. Why don't you open another one? We'll see. I think I only have 2 hands. I can manage, so much. But yes, I think with the right planning, I think why not? Especially an espresso bar mobile is probably the best thing you can do right now.
I love that idea of the mobile espresso bar. Why not? If people are asking and you're surrounded by so many strong Italian American women, who knows, we might all be like, you know what, I'll invest some, I'll become an investor. You'll find all the help you need, definitely. You're surrounded by a lot of strong women in this group. So very good. Let's see, anybody else have any questions? Laney, let me go back to you real quick. When's your next trip? You said September?
The next trip is September.
Uh-oh.
The next trip is September 12th to the 18th, 2021.
Okay.
So I hope people will come to join me. That's the Prosecco region. It's you fly in and out of Venice. It's a very easy trip. We stay in one place. We stay in a beautiful 5-star hotel in Oslo, and we do fabulous day trips every day, including a cooking class. And we take a boat down the Sile River into the Venetian Lagoon, and we spend a day with Elisabetta, because Elisabetta and I work together over there.
Yeah.
So we have it's a really amazing trip. I've done that one quite a few times already. And then in October, we have from the 12th to the 21st, we have Sicily, which is 10 days, and we travel all around Sicily, and that is an amazing trip as well.
Okay, so for all your trips, they're already on your website. You already have all the details in the itinerary.
Everything.
You have everything ready to go. Okay, and who knows? I mean, you might end up booking another trip before September, depending on how things start to open up.
That would be nice. I book travel for people, not just Italy, wherever they want to go. So, wherever, hopefully travel will open up soon and people will go. There's nothing better than travel. So we need it. We miss it. Everybody.
So you do book travel for couples and large groups?
Everything.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I like it. Let's see. All right. Elisabetta, I really enjoyed having you too. And Maria, Laney, all of you ladies are amazing. Maria, Elisabetta, anything else you ladies want to add?
Come along and visit Valdobbiadene. Cheers.
Please take me with you, ladies. I won't go away. Yes, I will. I'll stop in Connecticut first and pick up my dessert.
That's right.
Everyone that knows me knows I love a really good dessert. So I would probably go to Maria first and then I'll go on my way.
Okay.
Very good. So listen, I would like to do, I'd like for all of us to do a toast. I mean, we have a lot of participants that have joined us tonight. And, if you ladies, if you're willing to be in the picture, please raise your glass so that Eileen and Pat can see who is willing to be in the picture, because we want to do a screenshot of it, of everyone who's joined us. So raise your glass if you're in on the picture. If not, we'll understand that you don't want to be in the picture. Is that good with you and Eileen? Pat and Eileen, is that good with you ladies?
That's great.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfecto. I love it. All right. So let's do this. Before we leave though, I just want to let everyone know that if you still have any, questions, keep putting them in the chat box or email us at NOIAW. But all right, let's do it. Ready? A little toast for everyone. Raise your glass. And then we'll say chin chin on 3. Is that good, Elisabetta?
Yeah, so salute.
Salute. We'll do salute.
Which is even better, considering.
She says it's even better than I believe her.
Yes.
All right, so salute on 3, everyone. 1, 2,
1,
3.
2, 3.
Salute.
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 Salute. Very good presentation. Very good.
All right.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
You have,
Fabulous.
Prosecco.
Hey, Charlene.
How are you?
before we leave, if you have any more questions, visit us on our Facebook page, or, you know, ask them on our chat box, or even just visit NOIAW's website. And, you know, we really enjoyed this, and we hope you ladies did too. If you'd like to help NOIAW out celebrating 40 years, then please consider the 4 for $40 special, which is a special series of 4 events from the 4 different regions: New York, Connecticut, DC, and Rhode Island, celebrating Italian Heritage Month, which is coming up in October, and the 40th anniversary of the founding of NOIAW. Just visit us at noia.org. And then while you're there, don't forget to take advantage of our special bonus for becoming a member. So thank you all so much. I see all the beautiful faces. Everyone had fun, I hope.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see each other.
Fabulous.
Yes.
It was great. Thank you so much.
Great
I learned
idea.
a lot.
Great idea.
Thank you. Bye now.
Ci a tutti.
I love it.
Ci a tutti.
Salute.
Salute. Salute.
Salute.
Great job, Pat. Great job, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you,
ladies.
Pat.
Thank you.
Elisabetta, a dormire.
Sì, subito.
Laney and Maria.
This is
Ci
great.
vediamo presto. Grazie. Salute.
Goodness. All right.
Beve Prosecco. Beve Prosecco.
Grazie, Camille.
Buonanotte.
Zoe,
Buonanotte.
at Maria's truck.
Ciao.
Ciao, grazie. Ciao.
Ciao, everybody.
Grazie a voi, grazie a voi.
Buonanotte, Elisabetta.
Grazie, buonanotte.
Grazie, Elisabetta. Deve andare a letto adesso.
Ah sì.